Football will continue after this message and a word. Vikings spinning the shutout 13-0 at halftime. Lions have had their opportunity. Talk about Rodney Peete and Barry Sanders, Dan Fouts, two great rookies. Sanders' fumble caused a Viking touchdown, and Pete's fumble prevented a Lion touchdown there in a weird first half finish.
Well, that's really what Duane Fonts wanted to cut out, is the turnovers. And the Vikings have always been famous for it. But really, on this first play, Barry Sanders has the ball knocked out of his hand by his offensive tackle, Harvey Salem, right there, and the ball's left behind for the Vikings to recover.
And the only touchdown in the game was a Herschel Walker score. He rushed for 49 yards on 8 carries.
Well, you see the difference. This is conventional short yardage goal line offense. And the Vikings go right over the top very easily from 1 yard out for the touchdown. But on the other hand, you have the Lions who come down up to the 1 yard line, and they have a fumble at the very last play.
8 seconds to go, and here's what happened to Rodney Peete.
Well, Mike Merriweather, number 57, comes from the blind side, and Peete maybe should have kept on his way, on his rollout to the outside there, but somewhere along the line, the Lions have got to make a concession to traditional football and get a tight end and get a fullback and go with a short yardage offense. You cannot afford not to score from 1 yard out.
And, you know, if the Vikings had gotten touchdowns instead of field goals, they would have had this game blown out by now. They deserve a lot of credit thus far. Their defense has been really alert. Looking at halftime statistics, Lions have the edge in passing yardage, not rushing yardage, and the turnovers very critical in the game. The Vikings also have 3 quarterback sacks. 13-0 the score. Ed Murray will kick off for the Lions to start the second half. Rich Karlis has 2 field goals, both from 40 yards out. Walker with the lone touchdown. Keep in mind, as we get set to start this third quarter and the Vikings receive, that the Vikings have outscored their opponents 23-0 in the third quarter this season. Alfred Anderson will be the middleman for Minnesota to receive. There he is. And we're underway. And it's taken there by Travis Curtis. And Curtis is stopped prior to getting to the 30-yard line. Tommy Kramer coming out, 10 of 14 for 83 yards. We did not have an interception in the first half by either team.
Very disciplined performance from Tommy Kramer so far, reading the defense, seeing that he can't get anything deep. You remember the very first play of the game, he tried to throw the bomb to Hassan Jones, and the Lions were there for the coverage. So he's taken what the defense has given him so far.
2 tight ends for Minnesota, Carter wide to the left. On the 28. Herschel Walker. Maybe a yard as the Lions are handling his running laterally along the line. Jerry Ball and Chris Spielman on that play.
Take a look at Jerry Ball, number 93, and Chris Spielman, number 54. Ball is probably the best nose guard in football right now, and Spielman is off of the comments that his linebacker coach made and comparing him to Jack Lambert is playing good football.
Second down and 8 at the 30. Again, it's Herschel Walker. Penalty marker down. Walker carries a few Lions into first down yardage, but there's a penalty and it'll go against the Vikings. We'll have a holding penalty. Haven't had many of these today.
Holding, number 76, offense, still second down.
Tim Irwin, the right tackle.
Working against Eric Williams, the left defensive end for the Detroit Lions. Here we are. We're going to take a look at it. Top of the screen, number 76 is Tim Irwin. And one thing, when you got a guy like Herschel Walker, you've got to hold your blocks. Well, you're not supposed to hold your man, though.
Just hold your blocks.
Yeah. Never could quite understand what that meant.
This is about as healthy as the Viking offensive line has been all season. Walker appreciated their efforts for sure last week.
This is the best offensive line Herschel Walker's ever played with.
Walker wide to the left. Tommy Kramer runs for his life. Jerry Ball chases him out of bounds at the 20. Bring up 3rd and long.
Pretty good speed from the 34-year-old quarterback. Jerry Ball working against Kirk Loudermilk right in the middle. And Loudermilk does a nice job of preventing him from getting in the backfield. But this is what sets Ball apart, is his speed for a 300-pounder. Look at him chase Kramer out of bounds.
He's given his team a lot of leadership on the defensive side. 3rd down and 18. Kramer with time. Alfred Anderson on the reception. Bottled up at the 30-yard line, well short of a first down. And the Vikings will have to kick. Jamison and Holmes. Bucky Scribner in the boot.
Lions came close to blocking one of Scribner's punts 2 weeks ago.
Walter Stanley ready to return. They protected him well that time as the kick sails out of bounds. And they'll mark it at the 37-yard line. Lions will take over a 32-yard kick by Bucky Scribner. And with 12:43 to go in the 3rd quarter, we'll take a timeout. Now the Lions struggled offensively in the first half. They never really had good field position, but those 2 fumbles hurt them badly. Now they are starting with their best starting position on their own 37, trailing 13-0 early here in the 3rd.
And that last statistic was a 12-play drive that went 93 yards. They needed just 1 more yard for a touchdown, but they had the fumble. Big turnover for the Vikings, who really, as a defensive team, seem to make turnovers.
Why they're number 1 in that area. Rodney Peete throwing deep on first down, and it's intercepted by Joey Browner. And Browner carries into Lion territory. A brilliant play. A 27-yard return on the pass intended for Robert Clark.
This is why the Vikings are running this defense. You notice they have 4 defensive linemen there. Then they have 2 linebackers, and then 4 cornerbacks, and then there's Joey Browner, and his job is to play center field, watch the quarterback. Look how deep he's playing. This is him right on the right side of the screen, number 47. He sees Peete coming over to the top of the screen here, makes the interception. Big play again for the Vikings.
Vikings first down right at midfield. Tommy Kramer wide open. For the completion is Steve Jordan, his first catch of the game. And a gain of 27 yards. He was complaining that he wasn't getting the ball enough. This is only his 9th catch.
Well, the Vikings are trying to nail the coffin shut with this pass right here. Big play after a turnover. Watch George Jamison, though, really level Tommy Kramer from the backside. And we'll check the catch out here from Jordan, number 83, in the zone. Wonderful throw from Kramer, getting it over the linebacker's hands.
First down on the Lion 23. Herschel Walker nearly went all the way and is upended at the 7-yard line by William White. A gain of 15, and now they're a runaway express train, the Vikings.
Well, they really are. Again, it's Herschel Walker in the I formation, right up the gut behind his fullback, Rick Fenny. There's a beautiful hole there, and he is off to the races. Nice job also from Randall McDaniel working on Spielman.
First and goal at the 7. Double tight end for Minnesota. Here's Walker. And he is stopped by Eric Williams. out, no gain. Second and goal.
We mentioned earlier how it seems the Vikings are playing with such confidence. Well, they literally look like a Super Bowl team. A lot of talk about them now finally having all the pieces together. Well, they are playing with great confidence.
Walker has gained 67 yards, more than the entire Lion team, which feeds Barry Sanders in essence. Second and goal at the 7. Walker gets to about the 4, and it'll be third down and goal. Spielman gets up from the bottom of that pile.
Now, if there's any chink in the armor for the Viking offense, it's their offense in this area on the field. They have struggled so far this year, and even going back a couple of years, they've had trouble scoring points when they get inside the 10-yard line. Scoring touchdowns, that is.
Bob Stelker signaling in the offense, wants a timeout. The Vikings will call a timeout here.
And that's another symptom of a ball club that struggles down here. They came in with different personnel, 4 wide receivers, and it took them a little bit too long, and Schnelker wasn't sure if he had the right play called or not.
Interesting that we're seeing a lot more of 3 and 4 wide receivers in goal line situations now.
Well, this is a long way to go. 3.5 yards, 4 yards for a touchdown against anybody. But the Detroit Lions' strength on defense is that front line. They are very good against the rush. Although you probably couldn't convince Herschel Walker of that so far, the afternoon he's had so far.
Vikings lead it 13-0. Trying to take advantage of an interception. Inside the 20, they have scored 12 touchdowns and 6 field goals in 23 possessions up to this point. Took advantage of a Sanders fumble to score, and now trying to score following an interception by Joey Browning. Hey, one thing about Wayne Fontes has a scowl now, but it's been an upbeat team, and he is an upbeat guy. The team did not indicate a 1-5 record.
Oh, they really didn't. We talked to them yesterday, and the atmosphere, especially coming off the win against Tampa Bay, was very positive, and all the players give the credit to Wayne Fontes.
Third and goal. The ball is at the 4-yard line. 2 wide receivers. Now they send Walker left. Alfred Anderson will get in for the touchdown. They send Walker wide left, and Anderson scores. And the Vikings now lead it 19-0.
Well, Herschel Walker is a decoy here, probably the most expensive decoy in all of football. You see Jerry Holmes had to go out with the coverage on him, and he really took the focus and the attention of the Lions defense with him as Anderson gets the handoff, and he shows great power getting in for the 6.
Got to pass out the sugar. Rich Carlos with the conversion, with Scribner holding, and it's 20-0 in favor of Minnesota. Anderson's second touchdown rushing. 14 points off 3 Detroit turnovers. Nick Stockton and Dan Fouts back at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, where the Vikings have opened up a 20-0 lead over the Lions. Rich Carlos, who has kicked a pair of field goals, will set the kickoff now. In the middle is Barry Sanders. You got Walter Stanley on the right and Carl Painter lined up on the left. Heading over to Painter, a yard in the end zone. Tripped up at the 13-yard line by Mark Dusbabek. Want to remind you, next Saturday it'll be Alabama against Penn State. Alabama is 6-0, and Penn State has won 5 in a row.
Penn State also got the week off last week, while Alabama had an outstanding day against Tennessee.
2:30 Eastern next week. CFA football. First down on the 13. Jump, let's see if he was drawn. Harvey Salem, the right tackle, might have made a move. Unfortunately, that'll be the case.
Ball start, number 73.
Yeah, it really seems unfair because Noga was clearly offsides to begin with, but he hadn't made contact with Salem. Salem, just with a reflex action, popped up out of his stance. He gets called for the false start.
Amazing how bad the Lions have had starting drives. Their best starting drive was on the last possession, and Rodney Peete threw an interception.
Now first and 15.
So it'll be first down and 15 on the 8-yard line.
Noga's probably the most improved Viking this year, really matured in the offseason. A lot of help from his brother, Nico, who plays for the Lions.
Rodney Peete in trouble. Fires, completes to Keith McDonald. And a first down to the 32. A gain of 24. Darrell Smith on the stop. And Joey Browner is shaken up. And meanwhile, there's an injured Viking as well on the field besides Browner. And it'll be Darrell Smith, the man who made the hit on Keith McDonald. We saw some good pressure for the first time today from Keith Millard, and Pete had to run for his life.
Well, and that's what he does probably better than anything else, is escape that rush and then get his head upfield and pick out receivers there. Here's Pete on the run, and he sees McDonald wide open, and we'll see the collision here. And Browner gets his knee rolled up on by Scott Studwell. And that could be very serious. Although Browner is up walking around, that knee has got to be a little bit sore.
Darrell Smith is also all right, although he needs a little more help than Browner does.
This changes what the Vikings want to do with their defense, because Darrell Smith is one of those 4 cornerbacks that they were playing the 4 wide receivers of the Lions with.
They have Darrell Fullington, number 29, who is coming into the game to replace Darrell Smith for the Vikings.
And it'll be interesting to see how long Browner can last, because that was almost a serious knee injury to him.
But the pass to McDonald got the Lions out of trouble, and they have a first down now on their own 32. Barry Sanders. Fine moves by Sanders, picks up nearly 10 yards. Scott Studwell on the tackle. I don't think he's carried the ball as much as you would expect in that offense today.
Well, I would think that he's going to see it quite a bit now, though, because you've got to go with the old bread and butter guys, as they say, and he definitely is the biggest threat that the Lions have on their offense.
Second down and 1 at the 42. Again, Sanders, and he still didn't make it. It'll be third down. Still needing that yard for the first. Al Noga amongst the Vikings in on the play.
This is what we talked about as far as the Lions, some point along the line making a concession to the traditional way you play football in short yardage and goal line situations. This is Ken Dalafor down on the ground here, and he's had a rough day going against all those great defensive linemen for the Vikings.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned the Lions don't have the conventional short yardage offense, and that means they don't have a tight end, but they have a tight end coach. You know?
The great Charlie Sanders, who played here for the Lions for so many years, is the tight end coach. And, you know, who you coach when you got nobody to coach?
We were down on the field before the game, and Charlie Sanders was standing around all by himself, no one to talk to, except some coaching friends. And he's a good guy to have around because he can help the receivers. He was one of the best the Lions have ever had from any position.
Yeah, he contributes in his own way. He's up in the booth looking at the Vikings defense and seeing what coverages they're playing.
Dalafor will leave the game, and Joe Malinchek will replace him. Ken Clark is also in the lineup for the Vikings. 3rd and 1 for the Lions. Rodney Peete, and Ray Berry nearly had the easiest interception of his life. Right in his hands, and he dropped it. And it'll be 4th down, and the crowd boos for the first
this is what Rodney Peete is looking at, the three wide receivers here. And his first choice is probably number 84, Richard Johnson, but he was covered by the zone safety there. He went up the field, but the Vikings seem to be reading his mind back there. Fourth down.
The Lions will call a timeout, and you wonder, down 20-0, whether they may contemplate, even though they're on their own 42, maybe going for it on 4th and 1. I guess that would be the only reason for the timeout.
You have nothing to lose when you're 1 and 5 and you're down 20-0. How about a quarterback sneak?
But Rodney Peete, it probably wouldn't be a sneak. Jim Arnold came onto the field and then has gone off. So they're going to gamble, quote unquote, on 4th and 1 on their own 42. One thing we haven't seen today is Rodney Peete sprinting out and running as a threat. Here they go, 4th and 1 for the Lions in their own territory. Quarterback sneak, and he's got the first down. And the crowd booing a moment ago cheers now.
We're going to watch Rodney Peete take this sneak right off of Kevin Glover's back here, right between Glover and Dallafleur, number 57, and he gets plenty for the first down.
7 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Rodney Peete, the rookie, going against the top defense in the NFL, learning some lessons today. First down on the 43. Rodney Peete will run, and he gets tripped up by Henry Thomas. Otherwise, Peete might have picked up additional yardage. As it is, he gets to the 46. It'll be second down and about 7.
That really was a nice play by Henry Thomas, or, as you said, Dick, Rodney Peete was in the secondary, and he still had Barry Sanders trailing him for a possible pitch down the field.
Thomas goes out. He has been bothered by a shoulder and knee, and Ken Clark, who's been around for 13 years in the league, replaces him. Second down and 7. Rodney Peete, Stanley the intended receiver, and Darrell Smith was there for the play, breaking it up.
And that was the first play that Darrell Smith had come back in the game after being shaken up a little bit. They had Darrell Fullington, who's a safety, out there wide going against Walter Stanley, but the Lions' play selection never took advantage of that mismatch.
Meanwhile, the report about Thomas is that he was bothered with another shoulder injury. So he's still out. They're taking a look at it. Third down and 7 for the Lions on their 46. Here's Stanley. And he can't get away. Gets to midfield, and Darrell Smith grabs a hold and doesn't let go. And it'll be 4th and 3 now. No problem here. Fonts will kick it away as Jim Arnold comes in. What about this decision?
Well, I'm not so sure it's a good decision, but he does have an excellent punter who may pin the Vikings back deep in their own territory.
Leo Lewis calls for the fair catch at the 15. 35-yard kick. Well, in all fairness, it's a difference between 4th and 1 and 4th and 3.
About 2 yards.
Something like that. Welcome back to the Pontiac Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, where the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings in a Central Division battle, and the Vikings coming in tied for first lead the Lions 20-0 with 5:11 to go in the third quarter. Minnesota's ball on their 16. Screen to Hassan Jones, and a loss on the play. Terry Taylor was right there to make the play.
One thing we're going to see now is the Lions' defensive philosophy change a little bit here. Instead of playing a zone, they're going to have to come up and be more aggressive, play more man coverage. At that time, they were in the bare front, the 46, and they were blitzing.
What might the Vikings do in response to that?
Well, they're going to have to go up top, and you saw the quick pass to Jones that time. Maybe they'll fake that and go over the top with one.
They've got Carter and Jones wide to the left on 2nd and 11. Back to the 15. Herschel Walker on the pitch. Spielman beats him head on. And that's the 10th tackle of the game for Chris Spielman.
And boy, he's paying for every one of those 10. Big gash over his left eye. He's going to have to get to the corner and get his cut man working on that one.
I hope he answers the bell.
You know, he's going to tell him, hey, don't brush it off. I want it to show. He won't touch it. He won't let anybody touch it. Well, maybe a doctor.
4 wide receivers now for the Vikings on 3rd down and 8. The Spielman has repairs done. Tommy Kramer completes to Gustafson. And he's got more than enough for the 1st down. Ray Crockett makes the tackle and a pickup of 22 yards for the Vikings. As Kramer exercises that shoulder a bit after that throw.
This is the same type of play we saw earlier with Gustafson in motion, going down the field, faking a crossing pattern, and then cutting back to the outside. Good pass protection to begin with for Kramer, and there's Gustafson working against Ray Crockett, and he's given the rookie from Baylor quite a few lessons here. We'll check out Kramer later.
Kramer is connected on 7 in a row, and it's a 1st down on the Viking 40. Kramer going deep. Carter, and it's well out of bounds. Terry Taylor was covering on the play.
Good job by Kramer, just throwing it away, letting the ball sail out of bounds as Terry Taylor was well deep in his zone. So quiet in here, you could almost hear Tommy calling the plays from the huddle.
2nd down and 10 on the 40. Pressure, and down he goes. Jerry Ball gets a sack from the nose tackle position, and that's the 3rd sack of the game for the Lions. A loss that time of 5.
You know, we talked about Jerry Ball becoming a leader on this team and how he is now being regarded around the league as the best. He was drafted in the 3rd round, felt he should have been a #1 pick, but now he's proven to everybody that maybe he was right.
Well, the man he's going up against, Kirk Loudermilk, the center, is a guy who's gotten Ball's Pro Bowl vote every year. So he has a lot of respect for his opposite number today. 3rd and 15, inside handoff, Herschel Walker. And Walker gets 10 of those 15 yards back, but it's not enough. Jerry Holmes on the stop, 4th down, and Scribner will come in to kick for the Vikings. There's Spielman, showing the wares of the war out. Walter Stanley goes deep for the Lions. Scribner's 3rd kick coming up. Heading out of bounds. And let's see where they'll mark it. At about the 23. A 33-yard kick by Scribner. There's Chris Spielman. Lions will get it back with 1:23 to go in the quarter. Next Sunday on CBS Sports, NFL coverage continues with the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time. Most of the nation will see the LA Rams. The only loss of the year came last Monday against the Chicago Bears, a big one. Some of you will see the Lions against the Packers. And the second half of the doubleheader, the Philadelphia Eagles against the Denver Broncos, Randall Cunningham and John Elway. That's next Sunday on CBS Sports. Lions start from their 23-yard line. First down, trailing 20-0. Here's Barry Sanders with blockers. And it takes Joey Browner to wrestle him down. The average starting field position has been the Lions' own 17, and Sanders is trying to get into a position to break one.
And he's frustrated. He's not used to not busting a big one. You know, he had that opening kickoff that was called back, but so far you saw the pursuit of the Vikings there. Studwell was over there first, and then Browner. You can't get two better guys to tackle you than those two.
Defense has forced 3 turnovers, capitalizing twice. Second down and 5. There's an audible. Rodney Peete. Stanley. Got by Darrell Smith and then is brought down just short of the 40-yard line by Scott Studwell. A gain of 11 and a Lion first down.
Well, we heard Rodney Peete make an audible. This is the play he called. Now he just wants a quick out or a quick hitch pattern from Walter Stanley. What Stanley gives you after the catch is mobility. Watch as he jukes Darrell Smith there and picks up about 5 extra yards.
Good move by the former Packer as time runs out in the third quarter. And that is the end of the third quarter here at the Silverdome with the score. The Minnesota Vikings 20 and the Detroit Lions nothing. We now pause for a word. Start of the fourth quarter. The Lions with the ball with a first down on their 39-yard line. 20-0 Minnesota. Rodney Peete running. And pick up nearly 9. By the way, the Vikings have kept their record clean. They have still not given up any points in the third quarter all season.
Well, that's the good news. The bad news is that in the fourth quarter, they've been outscored 48-7. Now, if we want to carry it any further, the poor Detroit Lions have been outscored in the fourth quarter, something like 24-40. So I don't know what it all means. All I know is it's 20-0 now, and the Lions have got to get a score soon.
Well, they got 8 that time. Second down and 2 on their own 47. Pressure on Peete. Down he goes. That time they sent the linebackers, and Scott Studwell stormed in for the play.
Well, this is Studwell, and he's going to come on the blitz here, and Rodney Peete has got to be able to recognize this and either dump it to a hot receiver or throw the ball away. But he never sees Studwell coming until it's too late.
He's the elder statesman at age 34, but when we talked to him yesterday, it looked like he was only 24.
In super shape, and here's a guy that's still having fun playing the game. That's how you play the game for a long time. It's got to be fun.
Third down and 6. They lost 4 that time. Another audible call by Peete, and the 30-second clock runs out on him. Delay of the game, 5 yards.
Now, Rodney Peete is taking a beating physically in this game. He's been knocked down a few times, sacked a couple of times. Now Floyd Peters and these Vikings are playing with his mind. They're trying to beat him up mentally. Changing defenses, forcing the audibles, changing. Peters even having to call 2 or 3 audibles on each play. You've seen him change it a couple of times.
You get the feeling that Floyd Peters didn't empty his bucket in the first half against Rodney Peete with his defensive tricks.
He's got 11 buckets out there.
Now it's 3rd and 11. Going up top. Just past the outstretched arms of Keith McDonald. And that'll bring up 4th down.
Probably the biggest deficiency on this football team, and where they need the talent the most, is in the wide receiver position. The Lions do not have the personnel yet to make this offense successful. Top priority in the draft coming up to find some wide receivers.
Jim Arnold will kick for the 5th time, and Leo Lewis ready to return. Run out of bounds. Where some players are caught up in the action. Keith Karpinski and James Griffin on the stop. So the score remains 20-0, and the Vikings go on offense once more.
Number 49 on the receiving team, post possession.
That'll be Travis Curtis, so they'll move back a bit. 2 minutes gone by in this 4th quarter. Rich Carlos with a couple of field goals. Herschel Walker scored from a yard out, and Alfred Anderson went 4 yards up the middle. That's been the scoring in this one.
And although the Lions defense is much improved in the last couple of weeks, one thing they haven't been able to do all year is create turnovers. They only have 2 interceptions on the entire year.
We'll be back to the Silverdome after these messages. Watch shows 83 yards and 1 touchdown, but the Vikings have 2 touchdowns off of the turnovers today. 20-0 to score with 13 minutes to go, and it looks like the Lions not nearly up to what the Vikings, despite their enthusiasm during the week.
Well, they were very confident coming into this ball game, but the Lions are really getting a lesson from the class of the league, perhaps right now, with the addition of Herschel Walker. The Vikings coming off last week's win that Jerry Burns called the best win he's had as a head coach, as the Vikings head coach, and this game right here is right up there with that performance.
Vikings are playing like they want to have at least a share of the lead again this week. Herschel Walker. Couple of yards for Herschel Walker.
And Herschel's been busy this week. His wife is in town trying to buy a new house up there in the Minnesota area.
First time, actually, he told us that he went anywhere other than the practice field in the hotel.
Well, he wasn't quite sure of exactly where everything was there in Minnesota, but it's a tough transition for anybody. But a guy like Herschel's been used to turmoil in his life, and he's dealing with it.
Second down and 10. Pass to Fenny. Ridden out of bounds by James Griffin. You know, he has had a whirlwind kind of existence, you're right, you know, when he was with New Jersey or the Dallas Cowboys, and now he had an incredible week where he had to learn the offense, first the running and now the passing this week, and of course everyone has been talking about his dog, right? I mean,
well, his dog's name is Al Capone, and he's worried about Al because Al is still back there in Dallas. I guess he's having trouble transporting the dog across state lines.
Also, the dog was a little upset with the deal at first.
Well, the dog can't be sitting there reading the papers and listening to the media.
He's trained him right. Third down and 9. Handoff. Kramer. Must have been a fake to Fenny. Griffin made the stop, and nearly a fumble on the play.
Well, this is that draw play to Fenny, and what happens is he leaves too soon, and poor Tommy is just stuck with the ball. Here, number 31 is Fenny. He's going to get this draw play, or he's supposed to, but he leaves a little bit too soon. Tommy, because of the high snap, pulls it down. Now watch him get stuck by 1, 2, 3 Lions, and then down to the turf. He's going to be talking to Fenny on the sidelines.
Bucky Scribner will kick it away, and Walter Stanley is deep for the Lions. Stanley, and it takes a big Minnesota hop inside the 30. A 50-yard kick. One of those things where sometimes you guess wrong. Minnesota still pitching the shutout with 11:18 to go. Vikings making some changes in their defensive line. Al Noga and Chris Dolman remain as the ends. Ken Clark and Thomas Struthers are the tackles. We've seen Doug Martin in there as well today with his return to the lineup. Rodney Peete on first down. Bounces in front of Walter Stanley. Incomplete.
Lions are going to go with their hurry-up offense, not go back into a huddle, which is a good move here with 11 minutes to go. Although the clock is stopped because it was an incomplete pass.
Lion wide receivers. Here's the call, the line. Clark, Johnson, McDonald, and Stanley. This pass knocked down by Smith. The intended receiver was Walter Stanley.
Yeah, Daryl Smith is the guy the Lions are going after. He was defensive back coach Pete Carroll's biggest concern coming into this game because he is the 4th best cornerback on this football team. He's had an outstanding day.
Floyd Peters had a very interesting comment yesterday. He said these receivers have come from different places. They don't really know how to wait for the ball, or they have to wait for the ball. They don't have the moves down so set.
Well, the timing isn't quite there. This is a timing offense where the ball has to be in the air sometimes before the receiver makes their break.
Keith Millard back in there for Minnesota. Flip pass to Sanders. He had the first down and then went out of bounds before he hit the sticks. Smith and McMillan on the play, and all he had to do is move forward a little.
Watch as these two receivers come down here and pick. Sanders is going to come out of the backfield here, and then the crucial rookie mistake where he does not go for the first down, rather he gets out of bounds. He's got to just lower his head there and try to split those two defenders and get that first down. The chain markers were right there in front of his face.
4th down, and the Lions will have no choice. Rodney Peete on a quarterback sneak. Lions have a first down. 10:49 remaining in the 4th quarter. 20-0 in favor of the Vikings.
And that was one of the lowest quarterback sneaks you'll ever see. Rodney Peete got right down there with the worms, the plastic worms.
There's the audible again by Rodney Peete. Dolman might have moved. Vikings have it. If the penalty is against Detroit, Al Noga picked it up, but it was Chris Dolman who forced the fumble.
Offside. Defense number 56.
Dolman jumped off sides, and that'll give the ball back to Detroit.
Well, you notice that Pete is calling the plays at the line of scrimmage. Dolman is now finding his rhythm, trying to guess with him. You also saw Millard was very close to being offside there as well. That's a veteran defensive line getting a feel for the quarterback's cadence.
They lead the league in sacks. Millard with 12, Dolman with 7. Vikings have 5 today. 1st and 5 now at the 44. Rodney Peete has McDonald, and a first down in the Viking territory. To the 42, Scott Studwell on the stop. Pickup of 14.
And that's part of the timing of this offense. That was Pete's best throw. He got back 4 or 5 steps and just let it go in the seam pass. McDonald was there. Big play for the Lions.
On first down, Peete intercepted by Mike Merriweather. Laterals to Browner, but the whistle had blown. Viking ball, and in the first meeting 2 weeks ago between these teams, Merriweather returned a Hipple interception for a touchdown.
Well, Mike Merriweather is the best outside linebackers the Vikings have had since Matt Blair. He is number 57, and he's just dropping back into his zones and just checking out Rodney Pete's eyes. Comes up with a big play.
Fumble recovery and an interception today from Mike Merriweather. Well, the fans and 51,579 showed up today. Many of them making their way to the exits.
Oh, they're just going for hot dogs, aren't they?
Something like that. Wade Wilson is the new quarterback for the Vikings. Rick Fenny carries to the 46 where Victor Jones makes the stop. So Tommy Kramer leaves with the Vikings leading 20-0. And gives way to Wilson, who's coming back from a fractured knuckle in his left hand. There's Kramer.
Really a good performance by Tommy Kramer today. 15 out of 20, just missed on 5. The Lions played a lot of zone defense. He was very patient with what he wanted to do, and he played very, very well.
No Minnesota turnovers with 8:57 remaining in the fourth quarter. Second down and 6. The pitch is to Herschel Walker with Anderson blocking. And Kevin Brooks rides him out of bounds. Gain of maybe a yard.
This game now becomes, for Bob Schnelker and the offense of the Vikings, almost like a practice session where they're so far ahead, they're in such control, they can use a lot of different personnel. That time Novoselsky was in there as a double tight end. Now they can work on Herschel, make sure he knows all the offense. He's giving a new quarterback time to play. So the Vikings are really benefiting from this big score.
Third down and 4. 4 wide receivers. Here comes the safety blitz. Benny Blades was on the move. Wilson got rid of it, and it'll be 4th down. Carter was the intended receiver.
Check out the blitz here from Benny Blades. He's number 36 right here, and he's going to come on the safety blitz and welcome Wade Wilson back to the NFL. Good clean hit.
Bucky Scribner in to kick it away. Back deep is Walter Stanley. Goes into the end zone for a touchback. 52 yards that time for Bucky Scribner. Well, coming up after our game here at the Pontiac Silverdome, NFL Today, the post-game show. Brendan Erb with scores and highlights. Plus interviews with some of the athletes who are making the headlines today. We have 7:43 remaining in this one. Lions going on offense again. Have not, well, came close to scoring one time just before the end of the first half. Rodney Peete going deep for Johnson. And he'll be the beneficiary of another pass interference call by Carl Lee. Against Carl Lee, I should say. His second of the game.
Real good job by Richard Johnson, seeing that the ball was underthrown, stopping and trying to get Lee out of his way so he can make this grab.
Defensive pass interference, number 39, first down.
Lee had no idea where the ball was, and Johnson did.
45 yards because of that penalty, and the Lions find themselves on the Viking 35.
We talked about how the Schnelker and the offense are making changes. Well, Boyd Peters has gone to a 3-man defensive line now and added an extra defensive back.
Dolman, Noga, and Thomas Struthers. On the delay, here's Sanders. Penalty marker down. We may have a hold, Rodney Peete. And the Lions will be called for a holding penalty, nullifying, wiping out that 11-yard pickup. Rough day today for Wayne Fontes, who had his team on a high after the win last week.
Holding, number 53, offense.
Glover, the center.
Well, and Pat Haggerty, the referee, called it, so he must have seen it. What he saw was that Glover reached out and pulled his man towards him to open the hole for Barry Sanders.
These are the updated scores. It'll be 1st and 15.
Which is interesting. Why wouldn't it be 1st and 20? Isn't it holding 10-yard penalty?
Was last time I looked. Pete off the fingertips of Barry Sanders, and now for an NFL Today update on the Washington-Tampa Bay game. Let's check in with
Hey, Dick, suddenly we've got a contest in RFK. 22 seconds apart, a turnover, and the Buccaneers are back within 8 points right now. 29-21. We'll keep you up to date on this one. Back to Dick.
All right, Brent. Right now, no contest here at the Silverdome. Vikings have been in control on both sides of the ball, 20-0. 7 minutes to go. It's 2nd down and 15. Rodney Peete has Clark. And Robert Clark is pushed out of bounds inside the 10 by Joey Browner. A 31-yard gain, and the Lions threaten to get on the board here.
Again, it's an underthrown pass from Rodney Peete to the weak side here, to the left side of our screen. Robert Clark is aware of where the ball is, and Reggie Rutland isn't. Seems to be their best play, is when he underthrows guys.
Clark is his favorite. He made that clear today. 1st and goal at the 9. Peete has McDonald, and he is down. Audrey McMillan makes the stop at the 8-yard line, pickup of 1. Told you at the top of the game that the Vikings had lost 4 straight road games. Their last win on the road was against these Lions last Thanksgiving Day here at the Silverdome, and they shut out the Lions 23-0.
And they've beaten them 6 straight, going on 7.
Right. 2nd and goal. Peete to the 5. Doesn't get in. Stopped at the 1. And it was Joey Browner and Scott Studwell. And the Vikings don't want to give up that touchdown. That's maybe what they're playing for right now.
Well, this is the option play. Peete is going to come down the line of scrimmage, and Sanders is going to follow him. Peete turns it up. Good decision there by Rodney Peete. Not enough meat and muscle to get in that end zone, though.
3rd and goal at the 1. Sanders looked like he slipped a bit as he got the ball, and Mike Merriweather had an easy tackle on him, and it's 4th down.
They cannot afford not to score here. This is will be twice now that they've been inside the 5 and come away with nothing. End of the first half really killed them.
They were on the 1-yard line with 8 seconds to go and couldn't get it in. 4th down and goal on the 1. Peete. Touchdown, finally.
The Lions have scored 8 touchdowns, make it 9 now rushing, and quarterbacks now have scored 6 of those. This is the option play again, and Peete, outstanding effort to get in this end zone, and he really pays for it. He had the chance to pitch it back to Sanders, but nice play by Carl Lee forces Rodney to take it himself, and he gets in for the score.
He scored the TD to give them the win against the Buccaneers. Eddie Murray out to try to add the 7th point. And it's 20-7. So now the Lions with 5:07 to go still need 2 touchdowns to win this game. No one was giving them any kind of a chance a couple of minutes ago, and I don't know what kind of a chance they have now.
Well, what they have, though, is the perfect offense for this situation. They have driven the ball a couple of times very well. What they need to do is score from about the 20 or the 30-yard line instead of working it down in there where they have more trouble with this run-and-shoot offense. When they get inside the 5, it's very difficult for them to score. But if there's any team that's capable as far as their offensive scheme is concerned, it's the Lions.
And I guess it's important, Dan, for the Vikings not to get so comfortable like you talked about. Maybe it's a practice time, because the fact is that any team in the NFL can be trailing, you know, by 20-7 with this much time to go and win. In fact, you could score 3 touchdowns.
Well, we'll see what type of decision that Wayne Fontes makes here, whether to kick the onside kick now or kick it deep for the coverage and force the Vikings to drive a long way. One thing the Vikings are countering with, if they do kick it deep, it will be to Herschel Walker.
Which is your poison. There's Walker deep, and the Vikings bring up 9 people up front, all people who can handle the ball. Leo Lewis is the short man, and now they line up. In an unusual onside kick formation. I've never seen this.
Well, they're going to have a great deal of momentum going.
It's got to go 10 yards, and DJ Dozier is there. The ball didn't go 10, and Dozier has it on the Lion 43-yard line.
Well, you're really looking for the rub of the green there in order to get that ball. It's got to bounce almost perfectly. A couple of hops and then one big one up in the air when all those fellas are rushing down underneath it. That time the ball never got that big hop, and Dozier made the easy recovery.
Vikings begin on the Lion 42. Wade Wilson, who relieved Tommy Kramer. Novoseski in motion. Herschel Walker dives to the 40. Pickup of 2, and the Vikings will be happy to use as much of that clock as they can from here on in.
And if I were the Lions, although they only have 2 timeouts left, I'd be using them right now.
Timeout Story, each team with 2. Bigger role, of course, with the Lions. Second down and 8. Wade Wilson has Hassan Jones, who fumbles, and let's see who recovers. The Lions have recovered. Benny Blades is on top of that ball, and they hope he's all right. That's the first turnover by the Vikings today, and Blades is slow getting up.
Hassan Jones is the man in motion here. He's going to come down and run a little hook pattern over the middle, and he's wide open now. He's struggling for extra yardage, and the ball gets bounced out of his hands. And now the Lions are fortunate they didn't give it back to the Vikings, not being able to get their hands on it. But Blades appears to come up with it and get shaken up, and he always seems to be around that loose ball.
And he's big enough to be a linebacker. He's built like Jeff Fuller. Safety who can play a linebacker spot. Now it looks like they may be taking a look. Why the delay? Would they be reviewing that?
I'm not sure what there is to review. Thank you, Pat.
They did look at it.
They're probably checking to see exactly where the ball was recovered, exactly what yard line to put it on.
4:18 to go, and the Lions trailing 20-7 have the ball back. In the grasp, Ken Clark and Rodney Peete in the grasp. That'll be the 6th sack, and right now for an update, let's check in again with Brent.
Well, Dick, I want to tell you, the Green Bay Packers are one of the more dangerous teams in the 4th quarter this year. Mikowski steps away from the heat, gets a nice block, and throws to Sterling Sharp. Back to Dick.
Miami's been leading, so has Minnesota been. Now, after the sack, pass is complete Smith.
You would have hoped that Walter Stanley would have pivoted the other way towards the sidelines to get out of bounds, stop that clock.
There's the game clock on the right and the play clock on the left. It'll be 3rd down and 10 now for the Lions on their 35. Pete going deep. And he overthrows McDonald. Covering on the play was Audrey McMillan.
Well, old McDonald had a touchdown there. If Pete didn't overthrow him, he was behind McMillan, and it would have been 6, a very big 6 for the Lions.
Lions have not been able to connect on any of those long pass attempts today. Most of the time, passes have been overthrown. Sometimes on the under patterns, they've been underthrown. It is 4th down and 10, and the Lions, with 3:20 to go, trying to get to midfield on 4th down. Rodney Peete gets hit, and Robert Clark makes the catch and runs out of bounds after the Lions pick up more than enough for the 1st down. And Peete hit a bit. 25-yard pickup on a wobbly duck that wound up in the hands of Clark.
Well, sometimes you just get lucky if you just keep trying. Here's the hit on Rodney Peete from Al Noga, number 99. And there's 2 people that are very surprised that this was a reception. One is Al Noga, the other is Rodney Peete. This ball just floats over the middle there, and there's number 82, Robert Clark. Look what I found, a dying quail.
Might have still been alive. 1st and 10 at the 41 of the Vikings. And they make no mistake that time as Thomas Struthers gets to Rodney Peete, and that is the 7th sack of the game for Minnesota, a loss of 5.
This is the same thing that happened to the Lions in the game 1, where they had a chance to get back in the ball game, but they had too much, they couldn't hold out the defensive line for the Vikings. Here's Struthers, a guy that you don't hear much about because he doesn't get to play, making the most of his opportunities.
2nd and 15. Stanley trying to handle the high toss, and Darrell Fullington is all over him with a good defensive play. The Vikings, 25 sacks in their 4 wins. Didn't get to the quarterback much in their 2 losses. And what did Floyd Peters say today about their sacks?
Well, he said that he would be very surprised if they got 8 or more sacks today. I'm thinking, 8 sacks is a career to some ball clubs, and here he's talking, well, he was right on, very prophetic. They're right about there.
Lions would like numbers like that in the sacks department. 3rd down and 15. Peete overthrew Stanley or Clark, that is, by a mile. No one near the ball, and it'll be 4th down again. Tear in Rodney Peete's jersey.
That was from Ken Clark's sack, where he just grabbed him by the jersey, but one hand wouldn't let him go.
37 attempts by Rodney Peete. The yardage will look good, but when you're throwing that many times, that's not a good sign. Except for a guy like you.
Well, thanks a lot.
4 for 4 on 4th down conversions today are the Lions. That was a compliment.
Oh.
Being chased by Struthers. And he lost the ball. And Al Noga recovers as Rodney Peete lost the handle. Tell you, that's a great sign. They know how much this rookie is going to mean to this team and how much he's working and trying. And there was Jimmy Williams hugging Rodney Peete there as the defense comes on the field.
Well, this young man has a lot of heart. The thing he does that's so important here is he keeps the play alive with his scrambling ability. First he gets away from Struthers. And then he picks up a couple of blocks here, but he's always looking to make the play happen here. This is just rotten luck here, that's all it is. Going to throw the ball and have it just pop right out of his hand. Heartbroken.
He'll have better days, that's for sure. Vikings first down on the 49 of the Lions. Walker. Tell you, that Lion defense doesn't stop. Benny Blades drove him back as the clock is running down to the 2-minute warning. But first, the Lions will call a timeout. We'll leave them with one.
Good job by Herschel Walker of not running out of bounds and stopping the clock, forcing the Lions to use their second timeout in the second half.
Interesting how Minnesota's dominated this game. Lions get a touchdown and actually have had some opportunities. They recovered a fumble, and if they had some sort of a synchronization with their offense, they might have made this game a lot closer than it's been.
Well, I think that last play really epitomizes and capsulizes this entire game. They've not played well, but they have never given up. And that's what Wayne Fontes has instilled in this ball club, is that, listen, we're young, we're going to make mistakes, but listen, all I can ask for you is to try your hardest and don't give up. And you got to feel for a guy like Rodney Peete. This has been a very trying day for him, but he'll be back and he'll play well.
Second down and 11. In and out of the hands of Hassan Jones and nearly intercepted by Jimmy Williams. Well, let's look at the Vikings, because after today, 4 of their next 5 games are on the road, including games in Philadelphia, Green Bay, Tampa Bay is home, and the Giants, plus the one home game with the Rams.
Yeah, and then you go down a little bit further and you see that Chicago's waiting for them at home. So it's going to be tough for them, but they certainly appear to me to be playing like you'd like to see a team that's favored to go to the Super Bowl should be playing.
Well, they're going to win their 4th in a row here. And now it'll be up to the Bears to play the Browns Monday night to try to keep pace. Third down and 11. Wade Wilson on the screen to Alfred Anderson. And a Viking first down to the 38-yard line. William White makes the tackle, and the 2-minute warning has arrived. So with 2 minutes remaining here at the Silverdome, and the Vikings lead 20-7. We'll take the break.
That's silver for the Lions and Honolulu blue, the colors for the Lions. And of course, the Noga brothers are from Honolulu.
Makes sense to me. Al, of course, and the Vikings did not adorn his head in similar purple and gold colors.
And he has a full head of hair. He's a little bit different, you know. He's younger. He's playing a lot more.
Apparently, 1st and 10 for the Vikings. They're on the 38 of the Lions. Herschel Walker. Walker gets to the 35.
There's his brother Al on the sideline. You see the full head of hair there, but very close. The thing that Nico helped Al with is the mental side of the game. Not to let yourself get down if you're not playing well. And Al had a very rough and rocky rookie year.
And they're both awfully strong. Huh?
Oh, look at that gun there. That's what the players like to call their guns. You probably, Dick, would call it a bicep. Although
I'd call it a thigh. The Lions have used up their last timeout. 1:55 showing on the clock in a 20-7 Viking game. Want to remind you that you should stick around, because Brandon Irv will get you up to date with scores and highlights on our NFL Today postgame show, plus interviews with the stars. Second down and 7. Herschel Walker. Penalty marker down as Walker gets within a yard of first down territory. Chris Spielman making the stop for the Lions. Penalty will be against Minnesota. Before that play, Herschel Walker had gained 88 yards on 19 carries. Most of the fans have made their way to the exits here at the Silverdome, but when this club begins to gel, and they will, because they've got a lot of young players, and as Dan said, improving at wide receiver corps, they'll be back.
A real benefit in having a young quarterback with a lot of heart and a lot of talent.
Jamison making the stop.
But they will get the ball back because it's only 3rd down now, and it'll be close as far as the clock's concerned.
Well, for the rookies, Pete and Sanders, it has not been a shining day for them. Rodney Peete threw for a lot of yardage, but had his problems. And Sanders, who's sitting next to Pete right now, Sanders gained 59 yards rushing. We'll hear from those two, though. 3rd down and 16. And he breaks a tackle. Another flag now. He'll have a 1st down pending the penalty call, and it appears to be holding against the Vikings. That may nullify that 18-yard gain, and it does. Crockett and White made the tackle.
Well, the Vikings are showing that they don't know quite how to end a blowout type of situation here.
Offense, still 3rd down.
Each time you have a penalty, not only do you lose yardage, you stop that clock. And that's the last thing the Vikes want to have happen here.
Well, these clubs played 2 weeks ago, and the Vikings won 24-17. Little deceptive. Detroit did give them a fight, but there were 24 unanswered points in that game by the Vikings after they trailed by a touchdown.
Well, the turnovers have hurt the Lions in both games. The 2 interceptions for touchdowns in the first one, and then 14 points off of 3 turnovers in this one.
4 wide receivers on 3rd and 26, and they give it to Finney. Stopped just shy of midfield with under a minute to play. It'll be 4th down.
And there's a 1-second differential between the game clock and the play clock right now, so they will have to at least snap the ball one more time.
8 sacks today by the Minnesota Vikings. What's unusual is that Millard and Dolman don't have any. Plus 5 turnovers, and they capitalized on 2 of them. Bucky Scribner. So the clock runs out, and there's 1 second on the game clock. 5-yard delay of the game, and we'll have one more snap. As you said, that'll do it.
And this will be the obligatory quarterback kneel down. Always enjoyed this part of the game.
Did you ever have a problem when you kneel down and somebody came in a little bit?
No, I would always alert the fellas on the other side of the ball. Hey, listen, guys, you know, let me go on down, touch my knee on this ground, and then we can shake hands and go and hit the refreshments. You know what I mean?
Did they all say, okay, Dan?
You bet. They were so wit by that time. It didn't matter.
All right, that's it. Wade Wilson ends the game, and the Minnesota Vikings have won their 4th in a row, breaking a 4-game losing streak on the road. The final score, the Minnesota Vikings 20, the Detroit Lions 7. As the Vikings go to 5-2, and our post-game show is coming up next. We'll run down all the scores and highlights for you. So for Dan Fouts, Dick Stockton, here at the Silverdome as Minnesota wins the Central Division game.
Well, we have the possibility of an overtime in Miami. 48 seconds to go. Green Bay has hustled back to tie it all at 20. And again, we'll keep you up to date. But let's quickly take you through the scores now and show you where we stand at this point in the afternoon. Washington gave up 2 touchdowns, 22 seconds apart. The Buccaneers had jumped back to within 8. But now the Skins have added a field goal, and it appears as though they are going to win a very important game for them. 32-21 is the count there. So Washington with the lead and holding on with time running down in RFK Stadium. Minnesota going to win another big one, 27, another big afternoon for Herschel Walker in that one. Also, this is the game we told you about, 20-20 now, with about 37 seconds to go. Don Shula and the Dolphins have the ball. trying to get something going so Stoyanovich can attempt a field goal, which might be able to pull it out in the last few seconds. Tough wind that they are facing that game. The Jets and the Buffalo, the Jets were pathetic today, and the Bills dominated them. 34-3 was the final in that game. Indianapolis now in Cincinnati, and the Colts come up with an upset as the Bengals have lost for the second straight time at home, 23-12. And Irv, we would have to say that the Colts could slide in now and become one of the tough teams in the AFC.
No doubt about that. One of the biggest concerns, though, is the health of Eric Dickerson. And late in the game, he pulled a hamstring muscle, an old injury. He's aggravated once again, and there's a big question about whether or not he'll be ready to go next week.
All right, Pittsburgh and Houston. It is tough for the Steelers to win on the road, especially without Bubby Brister. The Oilers, meanwhile, difficult to deal with at home. 27-0, the Oilers lead there. Raiders in Philadelphia. This was scoreless at the half. In the second half, the Eagles outscored the Raiders 10-7, so Art Shell has suffered his first loss as the head coach of the Los Angeles Raiders. Dallas and Kansas City, it is 36-21. Now, let's send you down to James Brown and Ken Stabler in Miami. James?
Complete for the first down to the 30 of Green Bay. Mark Clayton. So take a look at Pete Stoyanovich. His longest field goal completed this year is 43 yards. Now, as a pro, he is 6 of 8 from 50 yards plus. And he's warming up on the sidelines.
Well, from right here, JB, from the 30-yard line with the 10 yards in the end zone, you spot the ball 7.5 yards from the snap, and you're looking at 47.5-yard field goal right here.
And again, keep in mind, a 12 to 15 mile per hour wind he will be kicking into.
He'll play to get closer with something safe.
Complete to Clayton. Inside the 20 for yet another first down by Miami.
Good safe short pass on the outside. Work the ball down in there to give your field goal kicker a shorter kick.
And Stoyanovich will attempt the winning field goal for Miami. .510 rookie out of Indiana. And it's good, a 33-yard field goal by Pete Stoyanovich.
All right, James, thank you. And so, Irv, we will wait for the final 6 seconds to tick off. The Packers will try to haul it back, and obviously we'll show you that video if anything happens there. Meanwhile, let me update another story, because just when we count them out, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have jumped back. They're down by 4. They have a little over a minute to work with. Now, for Vinny Testaverde, this is his 3rd touchdown pass of the 4th quarter, and he has kept them within striking distance. If nothing else, Irv, the Buccaneers are showing a little heart down there.
They're showing a lot of heart, but the key there, though, Brent, that was Darrell Green, the Washington Redskins' top defensive back, has been out in this 4th quarter with a knee injury, and they're picking on the guy replacing him.
How serious is the knee injury? Is there a chance that we're going to have surgery here?
Don't know yet, but we haven't gotten a final report, but the X-rayed his knee and his right wrist.
Okay. The Miami-Green Bay game. Irv, what is it about the Packers that they wait until the 4th quarter to come back?
Well, they're a team that doesn't believe they can be beaten. You know, you have a team like, it's not that they don't try in the first half, certainly like to start out fast in the ball game, but they really believe that as long as they continue to hustle and hang in there with the ball club, they have a chance to come from behind and win. And they're a very optimistic, positive, upbeat football team, and those are tough teams to beat.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to change the subject to another surprise in the league, and that's the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals, for the 2nd straight week, have lost a game at home. Indianapolis went in there. As Irv told you, Eric Dickerson was nicked up. He still scored a big touchdown for them down the stretch. 23-12 was the final in that game. Now, Irv, what about the Bengals and their inability suddenly to win at home? They were unbeaten down there last year.
Well, the key last year for them when they went to the Super Bowl is they were red hot. They started out 6-0, won almost all their games at home. When you came into that ballpark in Cincinnati, you knew you were going to have your hands full. But I don't know, why, they've slipped at home, Brett. I think a team's going there now feeling that they can get off to a good start, get that defense going, you can control that football team.
We can tell everybody that the wind just blew the ball off the tee with Stoyanovich attempting to kick it off down in Miami and kill the final 6 seconds, and obviously we're awaiting that audience to join us up here. So as we take a look at the AFC now, Irv, I know you are strongly behind the Minnesota Vikings. You think they're going to go all the way, but if I pushed you hard on the AFC, who would you give me?
Early on, I thought Buffalo would be the football team because I like defense. The teams that go to the championship and go into the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl win it with great defenses, great running games, and, of course, you have to have a solid quarterback. And I think the Buffalo Bills had all of that. They were a little shaky early in the season. They're beginning to put it together now. Kelly has to come back, though, for them to be in there. So I see Minnesota and Buffalo, the two teams in the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, they have just run it out down in Miami on the kickoff. Time runs out, and the Miami Dolphins have beaten the Green Bay Packers. The Packers tried an illegal kickoff return, a forward lateral, everything you can imagine. And the Dolphins are going to win this one, and they are going to beat Green Bay. 23-20 is the final in that game. So when you come back, we'll have that audience from Wisconsin join us, and we'll continue showing you more scores and highlights and some other action developing. Remember, the Washington Redskins could be in trouble. We'll be right back. We welcome those of you who watched the Miami Dolphins defeat the Green Bay Packers with 6 seconds left on that Stoyanovich field goal. And let me update the story out of Washington. Time has expired, and the Redskins hold off the Buccaneers. 32-28 is the final there. Vinny Testaverde with 3 touchdown passes in the fourth. These games now are underway. The Giants have kicked a field goal to take a lead. New Orleans strikes first on the Los Angeles Rams. San Francisco and New England playing at Stanford. They are scoreless. Seattle strikes first on Denver in Seattle. And Atlanta and Phoenix, they are scoreless in Arizona. So we come back, we'll show you some of the highlights from the early games here today on both the AFC and NFC. Herb, the folks down around Tampa have to be very pleased. The Buccaneers were a 7-point underdog. They battled back in the fourth quarter of this game and lost by only 4 points to the Washington Redskins, 32-28, and it turned out to be very exciting. Now, here's Mark Rippon going to Gary Clark for 10 yards. And then what about this interception of Testaverde?
Well, Todd Bowles is a safety man here for the Washington Redskins. Sits in the middle. You can see him coming to your screen now, making a great catch here on a low ball, picking the ball off for the Washington Redskins. But the problem here, though, Brent, was that Darrell Green was hurt on that play. They took him to the locker room. They looked at his knee and his left wrist.
Now then, they recovered the onside kick, and that set up the comeback, and they began to pick on Green's replacement, who didn't have enough experience, really, and Bruce Hill in for that touchdown. And finally, they make it 32-28 with 3 Testaverde fourth-quarter touchdown passes. Minnesota and Detroit, Herschel Walker, 24 carries for 89 yards and 1 touchdown in that Viking win today. Green Bay and Miami, and, of course, Stoyanovich wins it with time running out on a field goal toward the end, 23-20. That's the wind that they were talking about down there, gusting. Danny Marino to Mark Clayton. This is a 24-yarder, and Miami led the Packers 17-6. I'll tell you, in the fourth quarter, the Packers have outscored their opponents 76-23. And Mikowski very calmly, stepping away from the pressure, gets to Sterling Sharp, and Mikowski came right back, and then, of course, it was the winning field goal here by Stoyanovich. Irv, at the half, how many yards did Sterling Sharp receiving the ball?
Zip. He didn't have anything. He didn't become active until the second half. I'm sure they went and made adjustments, but, you can never relax with that Green Bay team. They believe as long as there's a tick on the clock, they can come back.
You told me that all Frank Reich needed was a chance up in Buffalo, that he was a Hall of Fame quarterback, that he would come back in the last minute and a half against the Los Angeles Rams and then throw 3 touchdown passes against the New York Jets today. It was an unbelievable display. And it was 34-3 as the Bills win again. But meanwhile, Indianapolis not letting them get out of sight. The Colts go into Cincinnati and win a big one, 23-12. Now, Eric Dickerson, who was injured, and we do not think it is serious, he also scored on his 21-yard touchdown run. Does he ever lift his feet off the ground? I mean, he was hurt when he got into the end zone on that play.
He's been hurt all week. He's been hurt for a couple of weeks, though, Brent. He has a pulled hamstring problem. It's a kind of an injury that when you stress yourself, you continue to re-aggravate it, and he did it again on that play.
All right, let me run through some other scores for you now. Pittsburgh and Houston, tough for the Steelers, again, without Bubby Brister on the road. 27-0 Oilers with a win there. Raiders in Philadelphia, defensive game, scoreless at the end of the half. 10-7 Eagles when the Raiders miss a couple of field goals in the second half, and that really turned out to be costly. Dallas and Kansas City, and now you can ask yourself, will the Cowboys win a game all season long? It's about 3-1 that they go 0-16. Well, there is a big story, of course, continuing to develop out in San Francisco where that killer earthquake hit, and that is whether or not there will be a resumption of the World Series. There's about to be a news conference with the mayor of San Francisco, and let's check in live now with Pat O'Brien. Pat, what's the latest?
All right, Brent, we are at the St. Francis Hotel in downtown San Francisco. In about 40 minutes, the mayor of San Francisco, Art Agnos, and the commissioner of baseball, Fay Vincent, are joining together here at a 2 o'clock California time news conference. They're describing their announcement as an important announcement. Now, we don't know what they're going to say, but we can speculate. One, the talk that's going around, will they cancel the games? That seems very unlikely. Two, delay the games even further. Of course, they're set to go Tuesday. Delay the games further, or even delay the opening time of the game. Right now it's set at about 5 o'clock. Tomorrow, San Francisco will undergo what can only be described as a gridlock day here, and so they may wait and see how the transportation system holds up under the conditions tomorrow. And three, and what has been a major point all week long, is the certification of Candlestick Park. Is the park physically ready to hold the baseball games? The important thing, I think, of this meeting is the fact that the mayor of San Francisco will be here along with Fay Vincent, the commissioner of baseball, because all along they have said that it is Art Agnos' decision on whether or not to use Candlestick Park. So we'll be here at 2 o'clock for that, and of course we'll be back with you for the results of this news conference. Pat O'Brien, San Francisco, back to you, Brent, in New York.
All right, Pat, thank you very much. Well, at this point of the postgame show now, we will say goodbye to those of you who watched the Minnesota Vikings win again with Herschel Walker leading the way. We're going to send you back to the remote and Dick Stockton. And for the rest of you, we're going to come back and we'll have more scores and highlights, and we'll also update you on the games that are in progress right after this message.
Minnesota Vikings defeated the Detroit Lions 20-7 here. And the Vikings now 5-2, pending what the Bears do Monday night against the Cleveland Browns, have a half-game lead in the Central Division. And Dan Fouts, it was a game in which defense, 8 sacks by the Minnesota defense, none by Millard or Dolman. 5 turnovers, they scored on 2 of them. So how would you characterize the game as you saw it?
Well, the Vikings have put together 2 great games in a row now since they've got Herschel Walker. And the offense, although not spectacular, was very consistent, very disciplined. Tommy Kramer was outstanding today, didn't force the ball down the field, and they played a great team game today.
89 yards for Herschel Walker. He scored a touchdown. Did you get a sense that that Walker is still going to be the focal point of this team?
Well, he should be, and that's saying a lot because they have a lot of stars. Anthony Carter and Steve Jordan to name 2, but Herschel Walker is the runner, and all coaches want to establish a running game, control the ball on the ground, because then you can eat up the clock and all that. The positive thing for the Vikings is they got Wade Wilson into the game, a little practice today, and Tommy Kramer played well.
And a great defensive effort against 2 rookies. Sanders and Pete are going to be some players, but against the Vikings, they're in a different league. Huh?
Well, that defense isn't number 1 for nothing. The great pressure from all of the defensive linemen seemed to get in there today and put Pete in a situation where he just wasn't used to and wasn't comfortable.
So the Vikings win, and the Lions go 1-6, and the Minnesota Vikings are now 5-2 on the season, and right now they're in first place in the division. So for Dan Fouts, I'm Dick Stockton saying so long from the Pontiac Silverdome. The final score, the Vikings 20 and the Lions 7. Next Sunday, NFL action continues, starting at 12:30 Eastern with the NFL Today, followed by Game 1. Most of you will see the LA Rams versus Chicago or Detroit versus Green Bay. And then in the late game, you'll see Philadelphia versus Denver. Saturday college football, 10th-ranked Alabama travels to number 17-ranked Nittany Lions of Penn State, starting at 2:30 Eastern.
The post-game show has been sponsored by Miller Lite, official sponsor of the NFL Player of the Year Award. Miller Lite brings you the NFL's best.